The past always looks more orderly after we know how it ended. Part 3 of Thinking, Fast and Slow is about overconfidence. Kahneman examines the illusion of understanding, the illusion of validity, expert intuition, formulas, the outside view, and capitalism's dependence on optimistic risk-taking. Chapter 19 opens with the illusion of understanding. We create stories about the past that make events seem more predictable than they were. A company succeeds, and we explain it through leadership, culture, strategy, courage, timing, and vision. Another company fails, and we build an equally coherent failure story. Once the outcome is known, the narrative becomes obvious. The problem is not that explanations are always wrong. The problem is that we underestimate luck, uncertainty, and alternative histories. Many events that seem inevitable in hindsight were fragile in advance. The mind compresses messy reality into a clean story. This hindsight illusion makes us too confident about the future. If we believe we understand exactly why something happened, we may believe we can predict what will happen next. Kahneman warns that the world is often less predictable than our stories imply. Chapter 20 covers the illusion of validity. People can feel confident in judgments even when the evidence has little predictive value. Kahneman describes settings where evaluators form strong impressions from limited data, and those impressions feel valid because they are coherent. Again, confidence comes from story quality, not necessarily predictive accuracy. If evidence points in the same direction, confidence rises. But the mind often fails to ask whether the evidence is reliable, whether the environment is predictable, or whether feedback has trained judgment. Chapter 21 compares intuitions and formulas. Kahneman argues that simple algorithms often outperform human judgment in prediction tasks. This is hard for people to accept because formulas feel mechanical and human judgment feels rich. But humans are noisy. We are influenced by mood, salience, irrelevant details, and inconsistency. The lesson is not that formulas are magic. Bad formulas are bad. But in many low-validity environments, consistent use of a few valid variables beats an expert's shifting holistic impression. The human dislike of this fact is itself part of the story. Chapter 22 asks when we can trust expert intuition. Kahneman gives a balanced answer. Expert intuition is trustworthy when the environment is sufficiently regular and the expert has had prolonged practice with clear, timely feedback. Firefighters, nurses, chess masters, and certain professionals can develop real skill under the right conditions. But not all expert confidence is skill. In noisy environments with weak feedback, intuition may not improve much. Stock picking, long-term political forecasting, and many complex predictions are not like chess. The world does not always give clean lessons. Chapter 23 presents the outside view. This is one of the most practical ideas in the book. The inside view focuses on the details of the current project, our plan, our team, our reasons, our special circumstances. The outside view asks how similar projects usually turn out. The planning fallacy comes from over-reliance on the inside view. We imagine the best path through the project and neglect delays, coordination problems, illness, scope creep, funding issues, and ordinary reality. The outside view starts with the base rate. What happened to comparable projects? The outside view is emotionally irritating because it treats your beloved project as one case in a reference class. But that irritation is the medicine. Your project may be special, but probably not as special as the inside view says. Chapter 24 turns to the engine of capitalism, optimism. Entrepreneurs, inventors, and leaders often overestimate their chances. This optimism can create innovation and growth. If everyone saw the odds coldly, fewer people might try. But optimism also produces costly failures. Kahneman does not simply condemn optimism. He recognizes its social value. The challenge is to build institutions that benefit from ambition while checking delusion. Premortems, outside views, reference classes, and structured decision processes are ways to preserve initiative without worshiping confidence. This episode's practical lesson is direct. Before trusting confidence, ask what produced it. Is the environment regular? Was there good feedback? Are we using a reference class? Are we listening to formulas or only stories? Have we considered luck? The illusion of understanding is powerful because it is socially rewarded. People like clear explanations. We admire the person who can tell us why a company won, why a leader failed, why a market moved, why a product caught on, why a career rose, or why a marriage collapsed. A clean story feels like expertise. A careful answer full of uncertainty feels weaker, even when it is more honest. Kahneman challenges that preference. The world is full of interacting causes, hidden variables, luck, timing, feedback loops, and alternative paths that never happened. Once we know the outcome, we erase much of that uncertainty. We look backward through the result and organize events around it. The winner's traits become the causes of victory. The loser's traits become the causes of failure. If the outcome had been different, we might have built a different story from the same raw material. This is why business books that extract formulas from successful companies can be misleading. They often study winners after the fact, identify attractive traits, and imply causality. But without comparing failures that had similar traits, and without accounting for luck, selection effects, and changing environments, the story may be more confident than the evidence deserves. The narrative is useful as inspiration, but dangerous as science. The illusion of validity is the personal version of the same problem. When our evidence forms a coherent pattern, we feel confident. But coherence is not the same as predictive validity. A job interview can produce a strong impression. A consultant's framework can organize a case beautifully. A market analyst can tell an elegant story. The question remains, does this kind of evidence actually predict the outcome? Kahneman's respect for formulas is partly a respect for consistency. Human judgment is noisy. The same person may weigh information differently depending on mood, fatigue, order, salience, or relevant context. A simple formula cannot see everything, but it can apply the same rule every time. In many prediction tasks, consistency beats a rich but unstable impression. This does not mean all decisions should be outsourced to algorithms. It means we should be clear about the task. If the task is prediction and valid data exist, structured methods deserve respect. If the task requires values, ethics, creativity, or human care, formulas may inform but not replace judgment. Kahneman's point is not mechanical worship. It is a warning against romantic overconfidence and unstructured intuition. The chapter on expert intuition gives a balance test. Skill requires a regular environment and feedback. A chess master sees meaningful patterns because chess has stable rules and immediate feedback. A firefighter may sense danger because the environment has learnable cues. But in domains with low validity, long delays, rare outcomes, or noisy feedback, confidence may not indicate skill. That distinction is crucial for finance, politics, hiring, strategy, and long-term forecasting. Many of these domains contain real knowledge, but also large amounts of noise. The expert may know more than a novice and still be unable to predict as confidently as they sound. Kahneman asks us to separate knowledge from forecast accuracy. The outside view is the most usable antidote. The inside view is seductive because it contains all our details. We know our team, our motivation, our plan, our obstacles, our special circumstances. The outside view treats our case as a member of class. How long do projects like this usually take? How often do companies like this succeed? How accurate are forecasts like this? What happened when other people felt just as confident? This is emotionally difficult because the outside view can feel like an insult. It says, your story is not as special as it feels. But that is precisely its value. It corrects the natural exaggeration of the inside view. It does not eliminate ambition. It disciplines ambition. Optimism, in Kahneman's account, remains double-edged. Without optimistic risk-takers, many businesses, discoveries, and creative projects would never begin. But without checks, optimism becomes a machine for underestimating costs and overestimating success. The mature response is not cynicism. It is optimism with guardrails, premortems, base rates, outside views, stage commitments, and honest feedback. Thank you for listening. Next, we enter choices. Bernoulli's error, prospect theory, loss aversion, and the strange way human value bend around gains and losses. Final close. Confidence feels like evidence from the inside, but Kahneman teaches us to treat it as a psychological event that still needs checking.